Quick question. Have you ever watched a film everyone loved but you could not stand? Or a film everyone called terrible but you secretly enjoyed? If your answer is yes, then today's discussion is for you. Welcome to the Student Shot Podcast. Hello and welcome to the Student Shot Podcast brought to you by the students of the Film and Multimedia Department. I'm yours truly, Naomi B. And here we have my co-host, Jennifer. Today we're going to be exploring a question that has sparked debate amongst filmmakers, critics, and audiences alike. Is there such a thing as a bad film? And we have two amazing experts in the film industry. First, our guest speaker, we have Precious Onwafo, an amazing filmmaker and a 3D animator. And we have our second guest speaker, Delight Oga, who is a content creator and a videographer. So, with this amazing topic, I feel like we should lay the foundation for what we're actually discussing here today. Can a film really be bad, or is it all a matter of opinion? In my opinion, I would say a good film is one that contains good storytelling and it meets all its creative goals and it has strong performances and cohesive technical choices.
A bad film is the opposite of what Michael Hose has said. It's one that has a poor story development, bad camera movement, and also bad techniques as well.
Yes, from all we have said, beats our own opinion on what we think makes a good or bad film. Now we're going to be listening to our guest speakers today. So, Precious, what would you say makes a good or bad film? And what would you say are the standards different films have to make to actually be good or bad?
For that question, so it's important to note that what makes a good or a bad film is highly subjective. And this is because people's preferences differ. There are a lot of people who are accustomed to Hollywood conventions or filmmaking. And if they don't see those conventions in other films in different regions, they might tag that movie as bad. Meanwhile, another person might actually find that movie very interesting. So Hollywood conventions includes fast-paced movement, fast-paced editing, and good lighting, high budget. But there are other regions that they don't have as much budget as Hollywood, but yet they have slow pacing, they have good sound. And this slow pacing helps the audiences immerse themselves in the characters' performances you get. So not everybody would like that slow-paced filmmaking or that slow-paced storytelling. So it just depends on who is watching and their preferences. So there's no such thing as a good or a bad film. It's highly subjective.
Thank you very much, Precious. So, Delight, what are the standards that films have to meet for them to be good or bad?
Hi everyone. So when I say a film is bad, it's usually because of one of the elements, like most of the elements of filmmaking, such as the storytelling, the cinematography, the editing, the sound design, or the acting. When there's like very poor acting, and then I feel that's a bad film. When the actor is not able to portray the emotions, when the sound design is not even like for a horror film, then we are getting emotional kind of like sound design, then I feel that is like a bad film. Or the cinematography, when the lighting is poor, the camera movement is poor, then I feel that's like a bad film. So I don't think we should judge based on the audience engagements. Yeah, because a lot of celebrities have like huge fan base. So whenever you have like huge fan base, you tend to get a lot of viewers, even if that film is a bad film.
So, Precious, from what Delight has said, she's speaking on the fact that these are the elements that contributes to making a film good or bad. So, would you say that if the sound is not good, the story is very flat, it does not have any depth to it, would you say that the audience engagement matters?
Okay, I understand your question. So I'm going to take us back to old Nollywood films. So back in the days, I attended before we bring the Nollywood. Recently, I attended a director's workshop by this director, Moses in Wang, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So he mentioned that back in those days, he made a film. This was a hit film. He put all his resources. It was something that Nigerians has not really seen before. But guess what? The time he released his film was the period Aki and Popo came out. Now, Aki and Popo, we all know Aki and we all know the legend. So this film, you cannot compare Aki and Popo's film to his own film at that point. For Aki and Popo, they had very little budgeting. Aside the budgeting, let's leave that aside for now. So we're talking about the elements here. So the editing, the sound, the storyline, all those things, would you say they were carefully structured? They were just done just to entertain people. They did not focus more on editing. They did not focus on the sound that much. They just wanted to give people what they want. And guess what? It was a hit. It was a success. And those people have become thing. Should I say, let me just say legends. They're not dead yet, but they have become legends from that particular success of the Aki and Popo. It was comedic and a lot of people loved that movie. So they did not care about the editing. They did not care about the sound. What they cared about was if they loved this movie, and yes, they did love this movie.
I love the fact that you brought it home and you spoke about the Nollywood film industry. So, Lee, and this has actually led me to a question I've had in mind. So, Delight, I actually wanted to ask this question. You spoke about like these standards, but these are standards that we know of today, right? These are standards that we know of today. So, would you say that back in the old Nollywood days where we were watching Osofia in London, Living in Bondage, and all these older films that didn't meet these standards of maybe not good cinematography that we know of today, good technical elements, would you say these films were bad films, or they were just like simply product of their time?
Hey, I would say they were simply product of their time because during that time there were no technologies. So there were no technologies, and they will be they'll be able to only work with what they had then. They really tried having no support and everything, no support from the government and everything. They really tried like to produce those kind of films. So I will not say, and the films, watching it, like they're actually not really that bad for that period of time. For that period of time, it was not really bad because coming up with the idea, being new to like technology and everything, and they were still able to make that kind of film by themselves, even during the time like they were war, they were using the celluloid and everything. They were still doing this like with their personal money without help from the government and everything. So I will not really consider that as a bad film because you still watching some of the film, they had good stories, but it was like mostly the way the story were told. If the story were developed more, they could, some of the film can still meet the standard of this present kind of film elements here.
Yeah, thank you very much for that answer. Yes, so I'll also say that these older Nollywoods, they really stuck with me because they are these are the films that actually built Nollywood. Even with them having few resources, sometimes we even see the microphone entering into the shot, even if it's like letter or not, cracks in the sound and stuff like that. But people still enjoyed those films for what they were. And I think that was a very important point that you brought up, Precious and Delight. Thank you very much. So,
Even adding to that, I was saying, yeah, those films they made our childhood compared to then. Like I have a lot of them, like I still remember, and I watched them years back. Like they still stick to my head and everything. So I would say the story, filmmakers and everything. Then they really tried. Like we still remember those kind of films and everything. We really said they really tried for like my generation. Yeah.
Exactly my point. So you see, you said those movies made your days, it made your childhood. You remembered those movies. But if you look at those periods, the elements during that time, they did not really have good editing, just like you have mentioned. They did not have a very good sound. Sometimes it could be choppy. I don't know if anyone can remember that. It could be choppy and they might not really have a lot of good actors or storyline. Sometimes it might just be comedy.
Very theatrical.
So they had, yes, they had, you said it had to have a good edit, to have good elements. But those movies had not really any of those you mentioned, but it still stuck with you. So that also sort of contribute to my point that says the viewers experience, the viewers choices are very important and it's subjective.
So I would say for that generation, you can't compare the technology of then to the technology of now. Times are changing. Now we have AI. So you can't expect us to make those kind of film. I'm sure the next generation, the kind of films we make now will be like, what is this? It's going to be like more better. So we can't say because of those films were good, the editing, and we now say we want to stick and keep doing that. Like, you get my point.
Yeah, I get your point. Of course, technology is advancing. But the whole point I'm trying to make is that, yes, we cannot be making films as it is. Technology is evolving. We have AI. Things are getting better. So those movies stuck with you, not because of the technologies and all that. Films can still stick with you, irrespective of how the elements were being done, as long as it's something you can relate to.
Okay, so I would like to ask you a question. Like, can you sit down and watch a film that the cinematography is bad? The quality is bad. The camera movement, the cinematography is bad. The sound, bad. And the story is bad. Can that movie stick with you then? Can you even watch that movie, like that film? Can you watch that film?
When I watch that movie, I'll say that could still be subjective. What you call bad might not be somebody else's bad. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't know if I mentioned this, My Father's Shadow. The editing was slow paced. Some people would actually find that bad. It was static, it was slow paced. Some people would say that's bad, like we're just watching trees, we're just looking at things, breeze, the camera moving just left and right. What are we seeing the trees for? What are we seeing all these things for? And some people, those kind of people might actually prefer the Hollywood fast-paced conventions of filmmaking. Do you get? So I would say what makes a cinematography bad might still be subjective because they like fast-paced. Does not mean a good-paced movie, a slow-paced movie is bad. So you still need to ask yourself what really is a bad cinematography. In addition to what I've said, there are movies where it was shot with just a phone, like your mobile phone. There are movies that were shot with mobile phones. And those movies, a lot of them have gained recognition from different parts of the world. But there are still some people that would actually tag that movie as bad or bad cinematography because it was not used with a professional digital camera. So that's why I said it is still subjective.
I think from what you guys have said so far is that a film is objectively bad, can be objectively bad in its execution, starting with the script, the writing, the plot structure, the cinematography, the sound, and so on. And it can still be subjective in the sense that people differ with what they enjoy and what they do not enjoy in their likes and their dislikes. So I'm trying to find a middle ground with what you guys have spoken on so far. So who do you guys think have the final say on a film quality? The critics or the audience? Now, when I speak on the critics, I'm speaking about those who give constructive criticism and these are their professions. So do you think the film quality or if the film is good or bad depends on what the audience think or these film critics?
Thank you for that question. So I'll say the critics are also part of the audience. So the audience are the reason the film exists. If the audience don't like the film, then the film is useless. The film is as well useless because imagine producing a film and nobody goes to watch the film, then it's quite useless. If the audience love the film, their opinions also matters. Like, I can't waste my time spending a lot of money going to watch a film, then you say my opinion do not matter. My opinion actually matters.
Just like you said, if a film is made and nobody goes to watch it, it's useless. So the audiences are very much important in deciding whether these films are good or bad. So those audiences differ. Everybody cannot be your audience. That's one thing we need to understand in filmmaking. Everybody cannot be your audience. There are different genres. There are also different films you might like making. So you need to make a demographic of who your audiences are.
So, Precious, would you say a film can be critically bad but audience approved?
Yes, I would say that. So, just like you mentioned about the critics, these are people who give constructive criticism. And for you to give constructive criticism, that means you know how films are being made. You know how it, you know beyond the basic elements. You know the in-depth details, of filmmaking. These films, let's all note that these films are not made just for critics. They are made for the audiences. So a critic might actually notice certain flaws in the filmmaking. Might notice a boom pole hanging just at the corner of that's in sight or that's in frame of the camera, and the audience might not necessarily notice that, but they love the film. That's another thing that's really important. They love the film. Does the audience love the film? That's a question that should be asked. As a critique, they don't just watch film for enjoyment. They are watching to see how that film follows different film theories. They're watching to see how the film is made professionally. They're using the elements, the sound, the cinematography to judge that film. So the audience might not really care in depth about those film theories, and they just want something they can relate to. They just want something that they see themselves in, something to just take them off their worries. The question is, a film can be can a film be critically bad and audience approved? So yes, it can be critically bad because they notice the flaws in the filmmaking, but the audience still love them.
Do you think a film making millions justifies the fact that it's good or bad? Or is what makes it good or bad?
Can you ask the question again?
So we see lots of films in the box office, blockbusters films, making millions in cinemas, and they come out saying, oh, this film is very good and stuff like that. But this film still has flaws. Critics still come out and say, okay, these films are, there's areas of improvement for these films. So we used to say that if a film make millions in cinemas or whatever, or it's like top 10, top 5, or even top 1, we used to say this is what makes a film good if it makes millions.
Well, if a movie makes millions, let's not forget filmmaking is also a business. True or false? It's a business, and your consumers or your customers are the audiences. So now, let me ask this question. If no audience goes to watch your film at all, will it make as much money? Will it make money at all in the box office? It won't. So the audience were actively involved in that film. So the fact that film made millions means a lot of people actually went to watch that movie. If the movie was not worth their time, I mean, a lot of people, life is getting serious, a lot of people have things they want to do. So the fact that they actually went to the cinemas rather, to watch that movie, yes, that would make that movie good. And without your audiences, you cannot actually make money. So your audiences has to be involved. And the fact they're involved means that film is worth their time.
Thank you very much for that answer. So, Delight, still answering the same questions. Do you think if a film makes millions in a cinema, does it equate if the film is good or bad?
So I feel no. The film making million does not mean the film is smartly good. Marketing can attract viewers. And there are some filmmakers that have like huge fan base. If you have huge fan base, if I'm a follower, like I really love a particular creator, I would not care whether the creator make something so good or so bad. I will still want to go and watch that particular film because I really love this creator, and anything the creator does in my own eyes is automatically good. So a film can be profitable and still have flaws. It can make millions, like the film I spoke about. Like I watched this particular film and it had million views, and it was I was just looking at it and I was like, what? The story was not giving, nothing was giving, but the TikTok she made about it, like she made the advertisement, the marketing was so good. Watching the clips, you'll be like, oh, this is the best film I'm going to watch. But watching the film then, you'll be like, so I don't think making millions means the film is a big film.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for your time today. So guys, after everything we have discussed today, if there's such thing as a bad film, our speakers are still standing on their points that films can be judged based on their based on the film technical standards, and the fact that audience engagement matters. But one thing that we can know for sure is that judging a film, if it's good or bad, can be objective in the sense that if it does not meet the certain filmmaking standards, it can fall flat and it won't have any depth to it. And it can also be subjective in the sense that audience engagement matters, and what someone might enjoy and preferences matters, because what someone might enjoy, another person might not enjoy it. Thank you guys. And this still your host, Naomi B, and my co-host, Jennifer.